with
Gabe.
Gabe. Yeah,
he's working on a name.
I'm workshopping a name.
He hasn't committed yet. I think he should, but we're getting there.
Yeah. I'm still thinking on it.
Yes. Tonight we will be joined by Mr. Andrew Raciti, I believe is how his last name is pronounced. And he is with Wild Attractions, and you should probably know his Instagram. If you don't, you're probably living under a rock. But he will be joining us tonight for a very exciting episode. He is not here yet. We're waiting for him to pop on. So we're gonna jump into that as soon as he gets on here. But in the meantime, updates. Gabe, you had a pretty eventful day today.
Yeah, man. I actually had to work an education event for my job after hours yesterday, so I got to get off early today. And they've been doing control burns in the area, and I walked a burn today with a couple friends, and in a couple hours we found 3 pygmies. So that puts me at a total of 3 snakes for the year, or 6 snakes for the year, 3 pygmies and 3 cottonmouths so far.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, man.
It might be the first time ever that all of my first snakes of the year have all been venomous too.
Oh, wow. That is pretty cool. Yeah, I'm still not on the board for the year, but hopefully that changes tomorrow. I'm actually heading out to see Gabe. We're going to be herping with our buddy Jack Oliver. He's going to be down. He's over in Polly's Island on a little weekend vacation. And so he's going to come meet up with me and Gabe in the National Forest, and should hopefully have a good time. So, but
we're going to find stuff tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm excited. But with that, it appears Andrew is on. So let's go ahead and welcome him onto the show. Andrew, how's it going, man?
Hey, how's it going, man?
How's it going, Gabe? How's it going, Jake? Great to meet you.
Good to meet you as well. Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you great. Can you hear and see me okay?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for joining us. I know you're a very busy man.
These days, for sure. Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, not a problem, man. And you're over in Asia now currently?
Yes, I'm currently in Vietnam, in Ho Chi Minh City.
Dang, that's awesome. So what time is it there, just out of curiosity?
Right now it's 8 a.m., 8:03.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Are we all drinking coffees at different times?
Yeah. I was rushing to get mine set up before the meeting, but it took a little longer than expected.
Yeah, no
worries. Trying to wake up still.
I am very much not drinking coffee. But
Jake's got those baby kidneys.
No, I don't drink coffee because of a bad heart, but I am drinking alcohol. So there's that.
Interesting.
But it's 8:00 in the night here, so it's acceptable. It was
acceptable, understandable.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Well,
Gabe, any other updates for?
So I am pulling stuff out of cooling to get ready to pair some Chesapeake locality king snakes, and pairing some of the Berkeley County locality corn snakes, and then might try a couple other pairs of things. Other than that, no, I've been slammed with education events lately. We just got done with SeaWe a couple weeks ago, and I've been teaching kids at work all day every week. And then on top of that, I've had 3 or 4 different after work events I've done. So it's been nonstop. So I was lucky to get out today and actually find those 3 pygmies.
Nice, man. Yeah, education. It's important for sure. Definitely check out the last episode. We kind of touched on some educational stuff there. All right. Well, Andrew, tell us about yourself, man.
So I am originally from South Florida, about an hour north of Miami. It's called Boca Raton.
Yeah.
And basically grew up in South Florida and then traveling to New Jersey on occasion with my dad. That's where most of my family's from. And we would travel up there on the trains and basically explore places where he grew up, because my dad is also into wildlife. He's always been into reptiles as a kid growing up, catching black rat snakes in Jersey, and frogs and turtles, anything like that. So I kind of I started on it pretty young up there, exploring around. My earliest memories. And I would say growing up, I did a bit of both, a bit of the, we didn't call it herping back then, but we were just, I was always out catching water snakes and then all that. And I was also keeping at the time. So I was kind of doing both from as young as, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. And I had everything from snakes to lizards, spiders, scorpions, all that stuff. Just always been interested in it. And then when I grew up, I went to university, Florida Atlantic University in South Florida, FAU, and ended up studying anthropology. And kind of at the time, I was kind of unsure what direction I wanted to head in. Did I want to work with wildlife as a career? I wasn't entirely sure, but I felt like anthropology at the time gave me kind of a broad range of things that I could specialize in after that. And then after I got that degree, I came out of there and decided to go into tech at the time to basically to pay bills. I was looking to move to Austin, Texas with my, at the time, long-term girlfriend. And then later on, we got engaged. But, fast forward, it didn't end up working out in the long run. And then I was in Austin, Texas for a couple of years. I got more serious about herping. And then found myself herping a lot there. Started taking the YouTube, the content creation stuff more seriously, and spent a lot of time looking for animals there. And then eventually, fast forward to maybe just a couple months ago, I decided to after we ended up splitting up, I kind of made this crazy decision that I was going to basically sell my things and go travel the world. Something I always wanted to do. So, yeah.
Dude, my one of my buddies almost bought your Russian rat snakes off for you when you were selling them. He was
really?
He sent me a picture, a screenshot. He was like, "Yo, this guy has these really cool Russians for sale." I was like, "Oh yeah, Andrew's cool. Like, hit him up."
That's funny.
Yeah, man.
I was not really did not want to let some of that stuff go.
Dude,
it's stuff I had for a few years. Yeah, I love those things. That's one of my favorite snakes in the world. Obviously the colors, but also they're just so docile and so even compared to other rat snakes, they're really, really just they're always just interested. They're paying attention to what's going on around them. They seem, something along the lines of like intelligent snakes. And that one in particular, every time the female, every time I pick her up, she would always start doing this like interesting little twitching motion with her body. It was only when I picked her up, but it was like some kind of reaction. I don't know why, but only snake I had to do that. This like strange like body twitch only when I pick her up. But yeah, they were awesome. Really, really, really cool snakes. Fun to work with. Great eaters. Not fun to get bit by. Specifically, Russian rat snakes have really large teeth for some reason. I'd be bleeding everywhere, but it was only out of feeding response.
That's wild, man. So, you have tell us about wild attractions. How did that come about? I know you said you sold everything and decided to travel the world, but this seems to have become more of a full-time thing. How did that develop? Did a video just blow up one day and everything just kind of happened, or how did all this come about?
Gotcha. I knew from a while ago, actually around the time that I met Gabe was when I was like, I had took a trip to the Carolinas to go herping with a buddy of mine, and a little road trip. And around that time I had decided, I had seen other channels, other YouTube channels, social media pages actually having like a lot of success with that kind of content creation side of herping. And, you know, like I said, I had been keeping for years. I had I'd had snakes in my collection for years, but I was starting to get more interested in that field herping aspect. And I was like, you know, I had considered doing it as an academic career, but I think with my goals and what I wanted to, what I guess would make me happy, I felt like if I could give it a shot with like the content creation, that would be personally what I would find most fulfilling for me, and something that as a career would be awesome because I like the flexibility of it. Really, I like to have my own hours. I like to work when I'm wanting to work. I like to be able to travel a lot. I had always wanted to travel around other different countries. So I started around COVID, 2020, 2021. I had started really just grinding, going out herping, filming content, starting in South Florida. And then when I went to the Carolinas, I filmed a video up there. And initially for like the first year and a half, it was really slow growth with like the YouTube stuff. I had a decent following on Instagram, but it's hard to transition that to YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms. And at some point, yeah, basically I had a couple videos take off specifically on YouTube, because YouTube's really the one where if you want to turn it into a career, if you want to be able to travel and make money while you're doing so, like you have to be successful with YouTube, find ways to be successful there. So I had a couple herping short videos take off in particular. That's where like a lot of the successes come from for me, is the short. So I had a couple take off, and then in YouTube, when you have videos go semi-viral or viral, it'll make all of your other videos start to take off as well and get more views. So I had a kind of a few videos, domino effect, like a few videos took off around the same time, and then it really helped my channel kind of go to that next level. And then at that point, I was still in tech at the time, and I was like, oh, this is. And again, it was around the same time that I had gotten out of the long-term relationship, and I was like, oh, I might actually be, you know, I had always wanted to do it, but I didn't know realistically when it would be possible to travel and make an income to be able to do it as a living. And then around that time, it was just everything kind of worked out, everything kind of came together, and I was like, if not now, like when is ever going to be the best time to take like a big risk in my life? I was like, I have no kids right now. I'm not married. And it just made sense. So I sold everything. And like I said, I had some snakes still at the time. Had the Russian rats. I had a false water cobra that I had for years, and a few other king snakes, rat snakes, stuff like that. And I'm a colubrid guy at heart, locality colubrids.
Oh, but you're talking to two huge locality colubrid guys.
Preaching to the choir right here, man.
Yeah,
best of the best. Yeah,
yes.
Nothing better. And I, semi-regretfully sold everything, and basically did a drive from Austin, Texas, straight back to South Florida. It was like in 19 or 20 hours straight, nonstop, didn't sleep anywhere, running on like no sleep. I will not be doing that again. That was a horrible idea. Coming in and out like of consciousness. Horrible idea, but
I've been there.
Yeah.
Gotta do the right over the steering wheel squint.
Yeah. I'm like blasting music just to like keep myself awake.
Windows down, cold air.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, great times. But so I got back to South Florida. I spent 2 weeks there, bought my ticket to Indonesia, the first country I was going to, specifically Bali. And then I left for Bali. And that was kind of, maybe people are wondering like why would I go to Bali, I guess, of anywhere in Asia. For me, it was my first time. It's my first time ever solo traveling out of the United States. The only time before that I had been out, I went to Costa Rica the end of 2023 for about 8 days with a friend of mine, herping and some other stuff. But I felt like Bali was a good kind of place to transition into something like solo travel. As far as traveling goes, it's pretty safe, and I don't have to worry about too much when it comes to that. And then obviously the wildlife, the animals, they have a lot of, relative to the size of the island, they have a ton of different snakes, lizards. It's crazy. Like when I realized they had king cobras, I was like, I had no idea for years.
Dude, I saw your post the other day of you behind that king. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like I've been able to work with them a little bit in captivity, but like to be a wild one, oh my God.
Yeah. Oh man, it was insane. That was my first ever wild king, and it was a rescue, and she happened to have eggs. She was on a nest about maybe, let me see, I don't know, 50, 60 feet from a small village. And when we, so yeah, I can get, if you want, I can get into the story of that stuff too. We can talk about like this specific stories.
And if you want us to put up pictures too, you can always send Jake some pictures and we can throw them up as you're talking about them too.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That's up to you. It's not. It's absolutely not necessary.
Yeah.
You can
go
ahead. Yeah,
I'll see if I have any on my computer right now, because if not, I'll have to download them from iCloud.
Yeah, you don't have to do all that.
So how
anybody who's curious, go check out what it's Wild Attractions, and what's the other one? WA.Andrew?
WA.Herbs.
WA.Herbs. Go check out his two pages if you want to see some pictures to go along with these stories.
I have too many pages.
Crazy content.
Anyways, continue.
Appreciate it.
Continue.
So sorry. No worries. And that was kind of going to Indonesia. One of my big goals was to get a king cobra. I think that's a lot of herpers' dreams, to like see a king cobra in the wild. And when I realized they had it there, specifically the species is Bungaris, because now king cobras are split into, I think it's 4 different species of king. And I decided to meet up with the Bali Reptile Rescue Team, is the name, Bali Reptile Rescue. And they have their own like headquarters there. It's like a very legit company, and they help out. They do all kinds of herp rescues constantly, and they get a lot of calls for king cobras to remove them from nearby villages. So the kings, I don't know that this is the case in other places, although I think in Thailand they do the king cobras there do the same. But in Bali specifically, I know the female king cobras build their nests in, or they watch the babies inside of bamboo, basically huge clumps of bamboo. And they'll bring the leaves together in the bamboo, and it's just like a big clump of leaves, and they'll just sit on top of it and protect the babies essentially. So they had a snake that, and I think the way it works for this company, this organization, is that they receive a lot of different calls from different villages, because there's so many villages around Bali. Hey, we have a snake. We have a big snake that's sitting on a pile of bamboo, and they want to remove it, which thankfully, I think a lot of places in the world, they wouldn't necessarily do that. They would probably just try to kill the snake. And a lot of them are aware of Bali Reptile Rescue. So they'll say, yeah, we have a snake here. We need to get it removed. And then I guess at some point the reptile rescue team will go try to relocate that snake. So we started off going to a beach cave, a temple beach cave. So it's a literal cave right on the beach of Bali. Beautiful, like dark black sand, ocean. It's just the most picturesque thing I've ever seen. And you walk down this path of rocks, and you come around the corner, and there's this massive cave opening, and then above the cave is a temple. A Balinese like Hindu temple, like just sitting right above the cave. It's like I was like laughing as I'm looking at this thing, because I felt like I was in a video game. It was amazing.
That's crazy.
And then we walked into the cave, and before you even get to it, you start hearing all these bats, like tons of bats. I mean, I've been to caves before in the U.S. and I think we went to one in Costa Rica, but none like this. Like the sheer number of bats was insane, and they weren't small. I mean, we're good size. I think they were fruit bats, and we walk into the cave, and immediately we start seeing like reticulated python.
I was just about to ask if there was a bunch of retics hanging down catching bats.
Yeah, there were, and they weren't really. You know, this was the middle of the day. It was 12 in the afternoon. And they were just, the retics are just crawling across, slithering across the cave wall. It was unreal. So we got one of those down. We took a look out of it. Also, the retics specifically in Indonesia, or at least in Bali, they're really nice looking. They're not the biggest retics in the world. You're really not going to see a 15 or 20 foot retic most likely, but they have bright yellow orange heads, and just the pattern, it looks awesome. A lot of contrast on them, feisty of course. And we got one of those, and then we basically went ate lunch, and then we headed straight to where the king cobra had been sighted in the village. And we had immediately, like, the entire village, how many people was it? It must have been like, at one point it was like 30 people or something. I mean, grown men, kids, the moms and all that, and they were all just sitting there with their phones watching, like, probably the craziest thing they had seen, all year or all month or something. Yes.
So when you're working removal like that with that king cobra, like, because I like I said, I've only ever been around a handful in captivity, only 2 adults, but how are you working that thing? Because I mean, a freaking 12 to 15 foot king cobra, like, you're not you can't really hook that effectively.
No, the strike range is crazy. You gotta be very I did not they have a king cobra specialist. Like, me personally, I haven't worked with a lot of super hot or super venomous larger snakes like that, of that size, of that caliber. We didn't know exactly how big she was while she was on the nest. We could only see a part of her, but she looked decent sized. And then, like I said, they have a king cobra specialist who works with them regularly. And he kind of helped initiate bringing the snake out. And then we moved it over to like a big open location where, like, the other people that have a lot of experience with working around snakes in general could like work with her a little bit. But I was overly cautious. Like, I'm not somebody that takes a lot of risk, especially when it's not necessary with snakes like this. So we kind of situated her coil around a tree branch in an open area, and then we kind of we basically distracted her on one end. A couple of the guys were distracting her with this black backpack, and then we sat there, talked about her to a bit. They talked about her to the local villagers, and then we could kind of work with her from there, hold her tail, check out her size. We took measurements, and then once they bagged her, we went and counted up the eggs and everything. She had turned out to be significantly bigger than we realized too. For a female Bungaris from Bali, she was 3 meters, like about 10 feet long, which is really.
She looked like she was pushing 10, like that. Right.
And they told me the team said that's a very large female. And she had about, I want to say it was 43 or 44 eggs that we counted in that nest. It was insane. It was just egg after egg going through this massive nest. That was awesome. And then let's see, the first night I got there, actually before this, we had went out for one night of herping with the same rescue team, but I went out with a different one of their members, actually the main guy, August, and he took us out. He took me and another guy from England out that I hadn't met before that, but super nice dude. Oscar is his name. And we went out to a rice paddy field that borders kind of a very small tree line with a little stream running through. No natural habitat whatsoever. And we get there, we immediately see a large viper skin, a large insularis skin, and we maybe, I don't know, 2 minutes after that, where we see a Dendrolaphus painted bronzeback, and then we catch that, and then we're looking at it for maybe a minute, and then August spots the viper, like a huge green viper, and then after that, throughout that night, over the next maybe 20 minutes, it was snake after lizard after snake, like the most insane herping I've ever experienced in my life. And August is like, yeah, that's just Bali. That's just how Bali is. Like, you go to some areas, no habitat whatsoever, but certain species will thrive. Emerald tree skinks everywhere there.
Really?
Yeah, in that particular area, and I ended up seeing them throughout. Tokay geckos.
Like a lot of cleared areas and rice paddies right there, right?
Yeah, there are a lot. It's actually pretty difficult to find like a good chunk of jungle or forest in Bali these days, unless you're going to maybe in an area between the south end and the north end. You can find some like near the volcanoes. Yeah. And then the west end, there's still like, I think, a lot of jungle, but I haven't been over there yet.
Our buddy asked in the chat, what came of the king cobra eggs? What did they do with them?
The king cobra eggs, what I was told their plan is, so they took the adult, they took the female, and then they also took the eggs. And I was told they basically take them back to their headquarters. They'll hatch the eggs out, and then they'll release them in an area with natural habitat. And I was told that they would name one of the babies after me, or a name that I give them to give to the babies. That was funny. I haven't heard any updates on it yet, so I'm not sure exactly yet. And another interesting thing about the mom, the female, was that she had a large scar on the back of her neck, behind her head, and they said that apparently it's from a bullet from the farmers actually shooting the snake, and you could see like a little piece of the bullet like still lodged in the back of her neck. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think he was like, it looked real, it looked legit. But I was just like, how can a snake like that? They must be incredibly durable. Yeah, that they could survive something like that, and it heal, and then not get like an infection or something. I was crazy to me.
That's insane. Man.
That's crazy. Yeah. And thinking that this animal's living in such a humid, wet, and a little bit wetter environment, no infection, like no bacterial.
Right.
That's
exactly. Anytime I get a cut or any kind of open wound there, I'm like immediately going to the clinic.
I didn't even think about the fact that like you're in another country now. Like there's a whole new set of bacterias and viruses you're exposed to. So when you first traveled, like, were you, how many vaccines did you have to get, or even more so, like what were some key things you were like, oh God, I hope I don't catch this, or oh my God, this is really prevalent. Let me be prepared.
It's funny because when I initially made the decision to go travel outside the U.S., I was just so pumped up about the idea of it. I was just excited. I was hyped that I haven't really considered like there's a lot of disease and viruses and things that we don't have to worry about in the U.S. that we take for granted. And I realized quickly once I'd made that decision that I had to get at least 4 to 5 like vaccines if I wanted to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, be careful. And it was pretty dang expensive, but I was dead set on going. I was like, whatever, make it happen. Either I get them here, either I get them in the United States, and they cost quite literally like a few hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, or over $1,000, and or I get them in the country I'm going to. Maybe the care, like I don't know, maybe I can't necessarily trust. Like the medical quality is just not on the same level in a lot of countries. Indonesia being one of them.
When it comes
And
to
I was
shots,
like,
that's not really something you want to play around
yeah,
with.
exactly. So I was like, let me just bite the bullet now, get them done. Some of the main ones I was told to be definitely like need without question, rabies for sure.
What?
Rabies,
I would not think rabies would be that high up on there, but like,
yeah, it's in Asia. I think it's the most prevalent in Asia, in Southeast Asia, than anywhere else in the world, and especially in Indonesia, in Bali, because in Bali they unlike the rest of Indonesia's Muslim, but Bali specifically is Hindu culture, so they take in strays all the time. There's strays everywhere, dogs, cats, like everything, tons of them. Because of that, it allows for, unfortunately, the rabies virus to travel much easier. And then I went down a rabbit hole of like researching it, and then I started like freaking myself out about it. So I got the rabies. I'm on the flight to Indonesia, like doing the, like reading these articles about it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like freaking out. But yes, I got the rabies. I got there's a couple of mosquito-borne illnesses. They especially said Japanese encephalitis was like a big one. It's the fatality rate's like 20% or something, but it's yeah, I was like, okay, I'm gonna need that for sure. Tetanus and a couple others, but yeah, those were the main two. Is like rabies, Japanese encephalitis.
I would not have guessed rabies as being.
Yeah, it's so crazy because like there's like 1 or 2 rabies cases a year in the United States or something.
You never hear of rabies in the United States. Like,
never, but oh man, in Asia, especially Indonesia, Thailand, Vietnam. I mean, it's everywhere. I love dogs to death, but in Asia, I'm like, if I see a stray dog on the street, like I just mind my own business. Maybe I'll wave at it, but I'm not going to touch it. It's just not worth. Because if you get bit, even if you have the vaccine, if you get bit, you still have to go get extra, like immunoglobulin and a few other things, like as extra precaution. It's craziness, but yeah, it's funny, like the things we never think about, like being in the U.S. necessarily, that we have to worry about coming over here. But that was kind of my preparation coming over here. So.
Damn, man. So and I know a lot of those shots are not very not very pleasing to the body. I know some of them can be very painful, and even some of them can make you pretty ill.
Yeah, I was told that. Thankfully, I didn't have any terrible reactions. Maybe a little nausea. Because with the rabies vaccine, it's 2 parts. You have to get one and then get the second one. What is it? Maybe it's like exactly 5 or 7 days after, maybe 2 weeks, but it's like you have to get it at this exact day after the first round. But yeah, it was just super sore, and that was pretty much it.
That's crazy, man.
Interesting.
See, that's the kind of stuff that, like, I like having, someone like yourself on to bring up that type of stuff, because I feel like when people think about going, somewhere, out of the country, they're solely just focused on the travels. Okay, how much my plane ticket's going to be? Where am I going to stay? But it's stuff like that people have to remember and realize is a very real thing, and it's a very real possibility. Going to some of these places, man, this isn't, you're not walking in your backyard anymore. This is a very different world. That's wild, man.
I started off, I went to a company that they basically, you tell them exactly where you're going, you tell them your plan, and then they'll tell you, okay, for this place, you need this shot. For this place, you need this one. We recommend getting this one, and this one. And then you have to decide which ones are most important, because if you get all of them, because if you get all of the shots, you're looking at like $5,000.
Golly. What chances am I willing to take? Is the question.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I want to be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Worth it to find the snakes. Yeah.
Another thing is, like, I know, like when you go to Mexico and stuff, you know, the whole don't drink the water and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, like the bacteria loads and stuff is going to be different over there in the food and the water they use. Like, did it take you a while to like kind of get used to that, or
yeah, I was
well, not to get too in depth, but
uh-huh.
yeah.
Oh, okay. So yeah,
Like, like, were you like sick for a week or two to adjust? Like, there's got to be like
multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
I was told I did my research before going, and I was basically, from my understanding, I was so basically assume that you are going to get sick. Like, it's not even really a question. Because especially in Indonesia, you can't drink the water. They say don't even brush your teeth with the water. Don't get the local water in your mouth. Don't eat fresh vegetables. There's like a whole list of things you gotta watch out. Don't eat fresh vegetables because they wash it with the water, the tap water, and don't eat ice. Don't drink anything with ice in it. Alcoholic beverages, whatever. Don't drink anything with ice in it. Because the ice is not filtered water. And I ended up getting, I would say within like 4 to 5 days of being in Bali, I ended up getting salmonella. I had never had salmonella in my life. And people say, "Oh, don't kiss snakes, don't kiss lizards." I had never gotten salmonella in my life, like working with reptiles, herbs, or anything. And I ended up feeling ill. Actually, when we went to the King Cobra rescue, when I did that, I started feeling ill, but I hadn't went to the clinic or anything at that point. But I could tell I was getting sick. I thought it was just a cold. Maybe it really wasn't that extreme. And then progressively, I felt myself getting worse, just like hot flashes, fatigue, a lot of fatigue. And then I was like, let me go to the clinic here and just check it out. Sure enough, I had salmonella. And then over the next couple of days, it got progressively worse to the point where I had went to the clinic. They were like, don't eat anything acidic. Don't eat anything with like too many oils in it. And then like 2 days later, I somehow got talked into eating an entire pizza pie by myself. So that night I was just vomiting everywhere. It was horrible. So I had to go back to the clinic, and they had to give me a shot for nausea. And thankfully, quickly it kind of dissipated. But then I started feeling that really wasn't that bad. There were only 1 or 2. It was really just one night that I felt horrible, and then it healed up quickly. So I did after the King Cobra one, about maybe 3 or 4 days later, I decided I was going to go to Lombok Island, look for the blue insularis, the blue pit viper there, Trimercursus insularis, and I drove to the east end of the island, and I took the ferry, the long ferry, the slow ferry they call it. It's like a 5-hour trip to Lombok Island, and at this point I was back to normal, I was back to healthy, and I took this trip to the island. I got there maybe 9 or 10 at night, and then I'm like just haggling with random taxi and bike drivers trying to find somebody, because in Bali it's very, very convenient, very easy. They have Uber, or not Uber, but they had their version of Uber. It's called Grab there, and a few others. Very cheap too. I mean, your typical 10 to 15 minute rides, maybe like 80 cents or $1. And so I'm in Lombok. I find somebody to take me, and I'm staying at a cottage that's like over an hour away, maybe an hour and 20 minutes, hour and 30 minutes away, on the other side of the island, that was recommended to me by my friend from Bali Reptile Rescue to stay at, and then to go look for this blue insularis, which some people may know. The blue insularis it's found on a few islands. You can find it very, very readily on Komodo Island. It's allegedly very common there. I hadn't been to Komodo, and I didn't get a chance to go there. I couldn't financially, like, it didn't make sense. Like, it was it's pretty expensive unless you're doing a group with a lot of people. So yeah, I go to the cottage. I ended up getting to the cottage pretty late, and I was planning to just go to sleep. And then I start talking to some locals that work on the cottage property. They were like, "We'll take you out tonight. Let's go." And the forest is a short walk from the cottage, so we walk into the forest. Yeah, it's super convenient. Like incredibly nice, super nice people. And they had some headlamps, so we went out and we found a couple of things. We found a giant Asian vine snake.
Oh, dude, I saw
one.
that. Dude,
Yeah,
that thing was sick.
yeah, that thing was massive. I saw the same species in Bali, but the one in Lombok was huge, perfect animal, like no issues with it whatsoever. And we spotted one Insularis green phase way up in a bamboo tree. Couldn't get it down or anything. And then we spent more than I was planning to go to sleep, and then we somehow ended up spending like over 4 hours out here in the middle of the night searching. Anyways, I get back after this. I'm dead tired. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning, and again, this is in Lombok now. I wake up the next morning in this cottage, and I cannot get out of bed. Like I literally cannot physically get up. I had the worst, like one of the worst headaches I've ever had in my life. I felt nauseous. I had crazy back and neck pain, and I eventually like found the energy to get up, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I was legitimately worried. Like I could barely stand, everything's spinning. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Am I sick again? And I went to the front desk. I was like, hey, can you guys like help me get to a hospital? And they were like, oh, we have a clinic nearby. And I had been to clinics in Bali, and I was like, I don't know how the medical care in Lombok is, but Lombok is significantly, you can tell there's just not as much money there. There's a lot of poverty.
It's more rural.
Very rural. You're driving by, like people are living in shacks, on the side of the road. And I was very nervous. I was like, if this is serious, I want to make sure I'm getting legitimate like care and they actually know what's going on. And so they took me maybe 30 or 40 minutes to like the nearest hospital. It was like the longest, most horrible car ride of my life. I'm like getting tossed on all sides of the car. There's no, and eventually we get there. Everybody's staring at me. Keep in mind, Lombok, unlike Bali, it's a Muslim island, and there's just it's just a bunch of people walking around this, all staring at me like they had never seen a foreigner in this hospital in their life. And I ended up getting cured, and essentially it was another bacterial infection, not salmonella, but something else. And this one was much worse though, but thankfully I felt better super quick. And I think the next night I was supposed to go out that night looking for the blue Insularis, but canceled. And then the next night I felt a lot better, and we went out looking for it.
So how long had you been in Indonesia at that point?
At that point, maybe that was maybe 2.5 weeks in.
Okay. So you got pretty sick twice, basically once a week while you were in the 2 weeks in that time period. Jesus, man.
Yeah. And I maybe it was, maybe the second one was about 3 weeks in, but I was told most likely I got sick a second time because I was taking antibiotics, and antibiotics wipe out everything, not just the good stuff, but the bad stuff too in your gut. And that was probably why I got sick the second time. And I think I got sick second time. I think I got sick in Bali again, but I think I didn't end up feeling the repercussions until I got to Lombok. But it's definitely I would say is like the one downside to Indonesia is like as a foreigner traveling, it's really easy to get sick there with something. You got to be careful, like the food you're eating. Make sure you're not eating like undercooked pork in Bali and places like that. But with that said, the food is really good. I really enjoyed it.
Well, we normally kind of get into, what's in, your herping bag, but to change it up a little bit, what would be, say somebody's doing a 2-week trip, anywhere. What would be your recommendation of things to bring? Like, what are some necessities that you would recommend somebody take with them for an out of country trip?
Out of country trip. I'm not somebody who I don't really over prepare. I try to keep it pretty
Right.
simple.
Yeah.
For me personally, I would say to basically just first of all, you don't know what your internet or your connection is going to be like with your phone service, and I mean it can be different from country to country. So I would definitely download an offline map of the region you're going to, and save that on your phone to have so that you can use in case you have no service, and just try to get familiar with the area. Try to reach out and communicate with some people that are living in that region, maybe herpers or something, that have like some kind of background, like other people that have maybe worked with them or herped with them or something. And then me personally, I like to bring basically a portable battery with me as well. So I'll charge that up beforehand, and then I'll bring that. You could also do like a solar powered battery, but I do that because I film with my phone, and I need to bring that. I would say also, I didn't do this, but I would say to bring a snake hook if possible, because you don't know where you'll be able to find one, especially in Indonesia and places like that. Yeah. Let's see. What else would I recommend? I would definitely bring a dry bag, like some kind of bag that you can, the ones that usually you roll up on the top and keep water from entering there. Yeah, exactly. Boots, for sure. Boots if you're going anywhere in the jungle, and maybe a small bottle of DEET-free, like mosquito repellent of some kind, especially in Southeast Asia. There's all kinds of mosquito-borne illnesses there, so got to be super cautious. But yeah, really, I don't. There's not a whole lot that I packed with, and anything I didn't bring with me, I purchased there.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff you really can't bring on a plane.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like certain things you can't really
you gotta pack light.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like for me, my plan was to solo travel for an extended period of time, not knowing how long I'd be going for. I had to pack pretty light, and then just anything I need along the way. Because a lot of doing that, you have to there's gonna be things that you realize you need once you get to that destination. Right. Maybe that are specific to that place you're going to, but that was kind of how it went for me, and yeah.
To get started with the herping, say that first trip to Indonesia, did you just look for a snake relocation service and kind of got up with them? How did you actually go about finding people to take you places? What was that process like?
Initially, I decided I was going to go there because there was multiple species of snake, king cobra, blue insularis, and a few others that I really wanted to see. And then once I decided where I was going, I basically started looking on Google and also on social media like Instagram, searching tags of, Bali, Indonesia, Bali snakes or Bali herping, and trying to find people or companies that work there. And then I ended up on a Facebook page for the reptile rescue team. And there's not a lot of, it doesn't seem like there's, from what I found, there's not a lot of people in Bali that are, maybe have like a herp specific or like herp tours particular. But then I saw this reptile rescue team, and then I saw them also in a couple. If you know Lou Boyer, Herper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's friends with a friend of mine, actually. Yeah.
He what? Sorry.
He's friends with a mutual. We have a mutual friend.
Okay.
Yeah, man. Dude. That man finds some crazy stuff.
Yeah, he does. And he's Herp's in his sandals. He's hilarious. Yeah, he's a funny dude. He actually went out with them, I believe. I think that was the first time I had found out about the reptile rescue team, as I saw it with him. But then, as I was just mentioning, I came across a Facebook group. I think I was searching on Google, and I came across a Facebook group for them. And it said relocation, but then I reached out to them, and they said they have actual herp tours, King Cobra, and then like just the general like night tours and things. So I ended up booking that way. But generally, I'll try to find out what species are in the area. And then if I'm going out by myself, I'll try to find suitable habitat, some kind of like water source, flowing water, some forest nearby. And
So when you're planning to go to a new area, and because I mean, I know for me, like if I go to an area out of state or another country, I'm not going to know half of the stuff I'm going to see out there. Is there anything you'd recommend as far as like finding a good guidebook for the area you want to go to, or the best way to have some sort of at hand information to say, oh, I found this weird little frog over here that looks just like this one, but it's got an extra spot. I need to know what this is. Because like you said, you're not always going to have cell service.
Yeah. If I don't have service at the time and I find a species that I maybe can't identify, I will usually I'll take a picture of it and then try to find it afterwards. But yeah, that happens a lot. I mean, you're gonna, when you're in the jungle anywhere, be it Asia or somewhere in South or Central America, you're going to come across species that you weren't even aware of existed, that you don't remember the name of, and you have to figure out what it is. But a lot of times I'll just take pictures of it, and then afterwards I'll find, look up species in this area of Costa Rica, species in this area of Indonesia, species of frog in this area of Indonesia, and then I'll compare it and try to find the ones that look most similar. And I know this is kind of like a debated app, but like sometimes, especially if I'm going to a new country or a new area and I'm wanting to know what species are in the area, like I'll sometimes check out like iNaturalist or some of the other apps to get an idea. I hear a lot these days about like, some people hate it, some people love it. I think
it's just like any other tool. It can be used for good, just as it can be used for bad. I think it all just depends on how you're using it. And I think like any tool, it can be absolutely useful in herping.
Yeah. And I think at least in my situation, like because I have been constantly traveling to new places, it's been really, really helpful for finding, just finding out what lives there, getting at least a base understanding of what species I might see, and then being surprised by whatever else. But it helps me get an idea of like, okay, maybe I'm not going to go to this area where people are seeing all these sightings, but at least I know that this is the type of habitat that I could potentially find this species in. So I mean, for me, it's been helpful in that aspect. And then, as I mentioned previously, a lot of times I'll just search. I'll use tags on Instagram and things like that to find the animals that live in that region. Searching, frogs of Bali or snakes of Bali and whatnot, something like that.
Yeah,
sweet, awesome, man.
Well, what if you could give one or a couple pieces of advice to somebody wanting to start traveling to other countries, other continents to herp? What would you tell them? Don't freehand.
Don't free handle for sure. No, definitely be aware before you're going because things, like things do happen even when you're being very careful. Like, and I'm not just talking about like snake bites or anything like that, but like when you're traveling in a new country, assume that things could go wrong or will go wrong, and find out, where the nearest hospitals are, where if something goes wrong, like where can I go to? Am I close enough to some type of clinic or hospital that I can get assistance if needed? Who can I contact? And just I would also try to, if you can, communicate, talk with the locals, find out, in the places I'm going to, is there anything I need to worry about with this? Sorry, there's a lot of noise right now. That's for you.
You're good, man.
There's always like construction going on here. And just where can I go to get help if necessary, essentially. And a lot of times the locals in the area know better than anyone else. They can tell you where to find, certain, maybe you need to get food and like snacks, drinks before you go out. They'll tell you where to go to find that, and anything like that. And then I would just say to let's see. Sorry, I'm not great at this stuff, but
no, you're good, man. You're doing a great job. Yeah, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it really just depends. Every place is going to be completely different. Understand how you're gonna get transportation. How's the transportation going to work? Are you going to be able to get a vehicle? In a lot of places, like especially third world countries or anything like that, if you book a vehicle ahead of time, they may. I've heard about this happening to people. Thankfully, this hasn't happened to me yet, but they may not actually have it available when you get there. So they may say they have something reserved for you. Like I've heard this happens in Costa Rica sometimes, and potentially in Southeast Asia. But they may have a vehicle for you, and then when you get there, they don't have anything available. Make sure you have backup options. I would potentially get like an international driving permit, so that you can drive bikes, especially in Southeast Asia. Everybody drives bikes. That's the main form of transportation, and it's super inexpensive as well. So
another question is the language barrier.
Yes.
So how do you go about kind of around that other than learning the language? Is it just a lot of like Google Translate or hopefully finding someone who does also speak?
You'd be surprised, in Indonesia, actually, a lot of Indonesians speak like surprisingly good English.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, like it's not a very high level, but it's enough that you can have an easy conversation, get an idea of like what you need help with. Personally, before I go, I'll start using maybe a few months or so before I'm going to that place. And when I figure out where I'm going, I'll start using like Duolingo, and I'll just at least start learning, like getting a base understanding of like the common, simple things to ask about, like the important stuff. Like asking how to get to a certain place, or
bathroom, food.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, how much does this cost? Yeah. Don't let, you will, as a foreigner, this isn't everybody, but not a lot of people, but there are definitely people that will try to sometimes take advantage of the fact that you're a foreigner when you're buying anything. Could be anything, but a lot of times like clothes, maybe you're buying boots to trek in the area because you couldn't fit them in your bag to travel. Don't just automatically take the price that they throw at you, especially if it seems like a lot. Get an understanding of how much things cost in the place you're going to. And don't be afraid to haggle a bit, come down in the price, especially if you're like budget traveling like I am. Like you don't want to pay full price. Like in Vietnam, just an example, like maybe I'm buying I don't know, a pair of jeans or something, or a pair of pants to go out in the jungle, they might charge, or they might say they're $600,000, and then you could honestly throw back an offer 200,000 or something. Like, yeah, just don't be afraid to do that stuff when you're traveling, and don't assume. This is a big one for anybody traveling in general, but just be cautious who you trust, and make sure you're understanding that aspect. Make sure you really get an understanding of like the type of people you're dealing with. You'll come across really awesome, great people. I mean, in Vietnam, it's some of the nicest people I've ever come across, and then you'll come across like people that are maybe trying to take advantage of you in some way. So just be cautious in that aspect.
For sure, man. No, I love it.
They probably take back. I think.
Yeah. As far as language goes, I think it's really not. It's not that difficult as long as you occasionally use some translate, and like at least a few of the words of what you're trying to mention to them in that local language. But so far for me, there hasn't been too much difficulty. I would say the most difficult has been Vietnam, where I am now. But like Thailand, Indonesia, and places similar to that, I think you'd be surprised like how many people speak at least like a little bit of
enough to get by.
Yeah, enough to get by for sure.
So just out of curiosity, just because like what you do fascinates me. Do you have like a home base somewhere that like you travel then go back home for X amount of time, travel again, or is it like I'm in Vietnam now, I'm going to be here in a month, I'm going to be here in a month? Is it constant travel, or is it like go home, go out, go home, go out?
So far, it's been no home base. I've considered doing that, but since I've started traveling, I mean, I started only just last October, and October last year, I started traveling. About the 14th was when I went to Indonesia, and I've just been traveling nonstop. I started in Indonesia, then I went to Thailand for about a month or so, and then I came to Vietnam. But as of right now, I don't. It's a pretty hefty like plane ticket to get back to the U.S. Like if I wanted to, like go back and forth or something like that. So I think it makes more sense for me to stay here, and that's kind of what the decision I made. I could potentially, like, if I was to go back, I would probably, because I would plan to keep traveling like to other countries, I would probably just stay at home with my family in South Florida, try to save up some money, and then head back out. But as of right now, my plan is I'm gonna stay in Vietnam for a bit. I haven't actually hurt in Vietnam yet. I've really just been working. I decided to so the YouTube and everything I'm doing right now, it's on the verge of hopefully soon becoming full time. But there are times where the income's kind of inconsistent. So if I want to keep traveling, at least for right now, I have to. I made the decision to like find a teaching job in Vietnam. So that's part of the reason I'm here. Vietnam, as far as Southeast Asia goes, Vietnam is one of the best for pay for English teaching, and there's a lot of jobs available. So it just made sense for me. So my plan right now is to work for the next 5 to 6 months, and then basically just save up money, and then herp, of course, in Vietnam. Vietnam's got some crazy herping as well. Beautiful scenery across the country. And then from here, I'm gonna start planning out where I'm heading to next. The food lover and the I guess culture enthusiast in me wants to go to Japan, and don't get me wrong, Japan has some really cool herps, some really cool animals, but there are some other places that are just a bit more biodiverse, that have maybe more to see potentially. So I'm not sure if it'd be there, if I'd go somewhere else in Southeast Asia. I'm trying to figure that out. But yeah, as of right now, just staying in Vietnam, hanging out here, and then I'll head off to the next place. But I don't know yet when I'm going back to America. I really have. It's been awesome being here. Like, I really do love it. I would like to stay as long as possible. Everything about it, the people, the culture, that wildlife is unreal. Like, you can't beat it.
So when you're at different locations, are you staying for, about a month at a time, and then and then you find someplace like Vietnam that you're going to stay like 6 months to save up money?
Yeah.
But what's the average time that you're in some of these other countries?
About as long as the visa will usually allow.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Indonesia and Thailand, it's about a month, the visa, and then you can either renew it. I think for Thailand, you have to Thailand loves tourists. They love to have people come to the country, so it's very easy to, first of all, upon arriving, a lot of countries you have to prepare or you have to get the visa approved before you arrive. For Thailand, you basically just show up and they give you the one visa. there's no like filling out paperwork or anything. You show up, they give you the visa, and then after, I want to say it's a month. After a month, you leave for like 1 day, and then you can come back for another month to Thailand.
Nice.
So that's what a lot of people do. Vietnam right now is giving 3-month tourist visas, which is really, really convenient. And but yeah, I'll stay for as long as the visa will allow, and then I'll leave and go to the next country that I want to go to. That's how I did it so far. And then Vietnam, because I'm working here, I'm gonna have to. I'm working on getting the long-term visa at the moment. So that's
nice.
kind of where I'm at with that.
Well, our buddy Justin, he's a host on a couple of the other shows with the network. And he said, what about India? Is that a potential spot for you?
Yes, because India has a lot to offer as far as trips, for sure. I mean, it's a massive place, and many different types of habitat, different biomes to explore. A friend of mine, Yatin on Instagram, I've actually met up with him a couple times. I met him in the United States. I believe we met on 2 different occasions, and then we actually briefly crossed paths in southern Thailand while I was there. But he's based out of India now. He studied in the U.S. and now he's back in India, and he does all kinds of herp-related programs like informative talks, and then they do a lot of relocations. I would, if I go in the near future, I would definitely be meeting up with him and trying to make something happen. But there's a lot of really cool. Of course, Russell's Viper is a must.
Those things are awesome.
Yeah, they're freaking great.
That's beautiful.
So I think India. I think let's see, Philippines. I think Philippines would be really cool, and then Malaysia. Malaysia might be.
Oh man,
Malaysia's like the big one that I think every herper's dream. I mean, they absolutely. There's so many different like big target species that exist there. I don't even know how it's possible. That was actually initially I was going to go from Indonesia to Malaysia and then Thailand, but at the time, financially speaking, it just made more sense to go to Thailand first, because I really didn't want to miss out on Thailand. And Thailand's up there too. I mean, Thailand's got some of the best, and there's so many different places you can go in Thailand and find different species. You can go to the north and get like bamboo rat snakes and a couple other species. What is it?
They
get some like beautiful Petius.
Oh,
what's that?
The blue beauties are up there too, right?
Yeah. I think they have the blue beauties up there, and then they have
one of the
Petius
there. Yeah.
Nigra marginalis. It's like a beautiful green Petius up there in the, I believe on the north end, and then in the south, king cobras, reed ticks, temple pit viper, waggerai, and mangrove pit viper. I'm frustrated because I had to make a decision to go to Vietnam, and I think Vietnam's awesome. I haven't heard to yet, But there's still so much in Thailand that I wanted to see that I did not get a chance to see. So I'm definitely planning to go back to Thailand as soon as possible. And the food's amazing. The people are awesome, like everything about it. If I was to live long-term in Southeast Asia, I think it would be Thailand. I think Thailand is the most set up infrastructure-wise for a Westerner, a Westerner to be able to live there, I guess, happily, have access to what they need and things like that from what I've seen so far.
Yeah.
So.
Nice. Very cool, man. So can you tell us a little bit about the stigma behind snakes in other countries versus the US? And, I know in some places snakes are, almost worshipped in some cultures, but in others they're very much feared, and they're pretty feared here in the US, by the large majority of people. But how does it differ? How does it differ from the US and other countries? And what has your experience been with that?
A lot, I would say a lot of countries, of course, similarly to the US, a lot of people will fear reptiles, specifically snakes. I've seen a lot of that. I'm always interested to, anytime I meet new people, especially in another country, that's like one of the first things, we start talking about the fact that I go out into the jungle and pick up snakes and crazy stuff like that. And they, oftentimes the first thing they say is like, oh gosh, gross. Like, I can never do that. I'm terrified of snakes. It depends on, I think really from what I've seen, what kind of makes a difference between whether somebody fears them or not necessarily whether or not they had a bad interaction with them, but how they were raised really. They learn it from their family, their parents, most times they learn that fear. But from what I've experienced, my personal experience so far, in Indonesia, in Bali specifically, they have like a belief in karma, and they generally respect wildlife and animals. So you actually see a lot of them. They're not going to go pick them up and play with them, the snakes necessarily, but they do have a respect for them. And some of the like Balinese people I've spoken to, they understand their importance in the ecosystem, and because of that, they will pretty much leave them alone when they find them. Which I wish I could say the same for a lot of people in America. And they basically say, in Bali, they say, unless it's in my home and like a potential danger, they don't know if it's venomous or not. In that case, they may end up harming it or having somebody remove it. But a lot of times they actually respect them, and they actually have temples around the island where they have snakes there readily, or they'll, I think, sometimes catch snakes and
I know,
move them to the temple.
With like the Wagler's viper and stuff like that, a lot of times they'll move them to the temple, where they get that name.
Exactly.
Temple viper.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. And it really just depends. There's a temple in the ocean, like at the beach in the water, and it's just like a little mini island, and it has a cave inside. They have sea snakes right there in the temple. You can go see. Like, I didn't go there, but I heard a lot about it while I was there. So in some aspects, they have like, I don't want to say gods necessarily, but something along the line, gods or demigods that have a lot of are influenced heavily by snakes. So those cultures, they feel that way. But then you might go to and Thailand. I felt the same in Thailand, similarly, in that they're very. They seem pretty aware of the native wildlife, the snakes. Then most people aren't going to go out of their way to kill them. Actually, a lot of people will call rescuers, even in Thailand, to come relocate snakes. Vietnam, though, on the other hand, Vietnam is more likely. It's in certain areas, it's become a part of their like food source. Like, I think a lot of people will eat snakes in certain areas, or they'll drink the blood. in the South. The South is famous in the Mekong area, Mekong region. It's famous for they will drink the blood of snakes. They'll put them in alcohols and things like that. And also, a lot of people here fear them as well. And I can't say for sure whether that's what's influencing that, versus like in Hindu religion, in Bali is a bit different, and they have a different view. But there is a lot of it's really just fear based. A lot of people just don't have that access to knowledge and learning about it. And I think I want to say it's getting better. And a lot of these countries, they do have access to like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So I think maybe it's getting better. Maybe they have more influence of that, but they're getting fed all different kinds of content, not necessarily just the good informative stuff about the animals, but in some ways it's similar to the US, and in some ways it can be very different, but you do still see a lot of that still like negative stigma around snakes and people being fearful of them. So
yeah, it sounds like it's very similar in the fact of it's all a learned fear.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like
absolutely.
that's got to be worldwide. It was mostly just curious, of how many,
mm-hmm.
because I feel like go ahead.
When I ask people and they tell me like, oh no, I'm afraid of snakes. They say, snakes scare me. And I ask why. Usually most of the people I've asked about it, they can't really tell you why. They literally don't know.
They don't know.
Just, sometimes they say, I don't know. I just, they look creepy, or they look, they look, what do they say? Like they look slimy. They look like gross and things like that. I don't know. It's interesting for sure. But
I hear a lot of times it's the general lack of legs is people will tell you.
Yeah.
It's the
fact that it slithers.
Legs. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. There's not a lot of animals or creatures out there that like don't have legs and can move around in such a way. So I think, it definitely makes them a bit nervous. And, it's hard people like to be able to, people like to like, they like animals that like give them some form of comfort or like look cuddly and cute. And snakes for them just aren't that. And I guess, they find them weird, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. Getting up to some of our wrap up stuff, man. What have been some of your favorite finds over your travels? I know there's got to be a million of them, so just give us 2 or 3 that have been like your top 3 finds since you've been traveling.
Okay, so I'll start with in 2023 when I went to Costa Rica with a buddy of mine. We met up with a local guide there in the southwest side near Osa Peninsula. We went there and we were told that the local eyelash vipers there, unlike the east side, are a bit more difficult to find. And we didn't really have hopes of seeing one. We did get a huge fer-de-lance on our first night staying in the Airbnb there, and we almost stepped on it. It was right next to the path, and we were distracted by a kinkajou that threw a seed at us, or dropped a seed on, almost hit me in the head. And then there's just this massive, like 5+ foot fer-de-lance planted right next to the path. And then, so we went out herping with this guy, and we were just deep in the jungle, and we started seeing dart frogs. We started seeing like blunt-headed tree snakes, some other stuff, really cool. And then I spotted a eyelash viper, beautiful, like Christmas colored green and red eyelash viper. That was really cool. That was a beautiful animal. At the time, I didn't get great footage of it, great pictures, for one reason or another. I was mainly, I mostly filmed with my phone, and I had ran out of storage. So I wasn't able to get anything with my phone. What's that?
I didn't even think about the fact that when you're filming with your phone, like you got to go through your storage like quick.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then I have to delete like all old footage off my phone and make sure I still have it in my iCloud. So it can be a lot to go through. I don't know if in the long run I'll keep filming with my phone or not, but for now, like convenience wise, it's
very
nice to
convenient.
film with.
And it's also the phone camera quality is nowadays is just ridiculous.
It's
I
awesome.
mean,
it's really good.
It's unreal what an iPhone can record. Like it's nuts. Anyways,
yeah,
continue.
even the pictures. Yeah, the pictures are up there with almost up there with some like legit cameras. So like filming in 4K, 30 FPS. But and then so that was a good one. And then as far as Asia goes, of course, King Cobra, as we talked about, that's a hard one to beat. That was really fun. And then one of my favorite was definitely the blue trimmer Cirrus and Solaris white-lipped island pit viper from Lombok, because that was like going there was like, and just the entire experience of like getting sick. I know it sounds crazy, but that just made like the fact that I got super sick and then we still went out and got the viper like the next night just made the entire experience more memorable for me. And one of the local Indonesian people that I met there at the cottage was like unbelievable. She like came to the hospital, like talked with the staff, took care of me, brought me all these snacks. Like they are the kindest people in the world. But that experience and finding that blue and Solaris after like a whole night, maybe five hours or so of searching, and then right when we were about to stop, we were about to give up, we came across it like right near the path. Just hanging out in like the one tree that I didn't look in, and it was hanging out in there. Just this perfect, picturesque blue specimen, bright, beautiful blue. And then we held on to it until the next morning so we could get better footage, and then we released it back in that area where we got it. That for me was a big one. And then I would say just in Thailand, southern Thailand. Finding, we didn't get to talk about this, but the Phuket pit viper, saw multiple of those. Those are really cool because they're only found in that region of southern Thailand, I believe, only in Phuket province. And then maybe the craziest, because it was unexpected, was finding Ganyasoma, red-tailed green rat snake.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it was a night I went out solo. And completely by myself in a new area I had never been to, at a spot that I had just found on the maps, and I was like, this looks like it could be decent. It had a stream running through, and it was like up into a mountain with a trail. And I went out here. I had no service whatsoever, and I just had some guy drop me off on a bike. He's asking me like, in Thailand they really, as I mentioned before, they speak a little bit of English, but it's not a lot. It's less so than Indonesia. And this guy, like, he looked very like concerned. He's like, why am I? He was like looking around, like, where are we? Why am I dropping you off out here? And me, like, don't. Yeah. Also, don't, if you're out traveling solo, especially into the jungle, don't tell too many people that you're going out by yourself in the jungle, like just for safety reasons.
Right.
You don't know who you're talking to. So I told him, I was like, oh, I'm meeting some friends in the forest.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I got a couple friends I'm meeting in the forest. I like translated that to him. And then I ran out of service. But yeah, I went up into this jungle, like basically followed a stream, a river up on top of a mountain. Like the most pristine habitat. I see Phuket pit viper. I had gotten one with a guide in Phuket before this, but then I found one here by myself, so that was a good feeling. And then kept going, and then I spotted a red-tailed green rat snake up in a tree, like way up in a tree, maybe 20 feet. And I grabbed a massive piece of bamboo, and I basically try to I'm like, I gotta get this thing down. I have to. These are like one of my favorite snakes growing up that I would see people working with occasionally. And I got this thing down. Pretty big animal. I mean, maybe like 4.5 feet or something. decent size, and super. I somehow, some way, got this thing to attach itself to the bamboo, brought it down. I'm standing over a river, and I like slip and almost fall into the river while I'm trying to get this thing down. The entire process of it was crazy. And then I brought it over, and then I'm taking footage of it, taking video. The thing like almost bit me directly in the face as I'm trying to get a video of it, biting me all over the arms. I'm bleeding everywhere. They have a pretty good bite for a snake that size. Yeah, they're no joke. And then I'm still like bummed, right? And then I'm like, all right, let me go release this thing back. I got it. I get it to attach back onto the end of the bamboo. I'm like trying to prop huge, like long piece of bamboo. I'm trying to like prop this thing back up where I got in the tree. My arms feel like they're about to fall off. And then I put it in the tree, and then I see this like kind of silhouette nearby in a tree right next to it, and it's a bigger, like big, maybe 5 to 6 foot red-tailed green rat, another one. And I was like, no freaking way. This one was like out of reach, but I was like losing my mind because they're not. I don't think they're like incredibly common. You're definitely not gonna see a red-tailed green rat every time you go out here.
Right.
And I saw it too, and I was like mind blown. There's giant Asian forest scorpions running around, tailless whip scorpions. So cool. I got a couple gecko species there. So yeah, that was definitely it so far. A couple other cool finds, but those are some of my favorites so far. And then hopefully I'm getting out soon in Vietnam to look in the Mekong Delta, Mekong River area in the swamp. And then maybe I'm thinking after I finish working here in Ho Chi Minh, I'm thinking of just doing like a huge trip up through like all of Vietnam, hitting each area and trying to get a big target in each area of the country, I think is the plan. So,
well, with that in mind, my follow-up question is like, what are some species goals that you're gonna? Yeah, I was gonna say just future, but it seems like you're gonna be in Vietnam for the next near future. So, what are your goals for Vietnam of stuff that you want to find? Species wise.
I would say for Vietnam, there is. I really, really want to get one because I did not find one in Thailand. I really want to get keeled rat snake, Pataeus.
Yeah,
a really big one. Yeah, and they're from what I understand, you can find them. I don't believe down near Ho Chi Minh in the south, but you can definitely get them near where is it? Not Dalat, Da Nang. Near Da Nang area in the mountains. You can find them potentially, and they're like the really dark color form. I want to get a really big Pataeus. That would be really cool. And then just a couple of the local vipers they have here. I want to see a really nice crate. Banded crate would be really cool. And then I think, from my understanding, there's a small area in the south where you can actually find Burmese pythons here. So I want to try and get a burn. That would be really cool in the south of Vietnam. And then I want to just find snakes in the swamp in the Mekong Delta. I think would be really fun. Maybe do like one of the big canoes. Because I was already down there once, but I didn't have a chance to herp. It was like super quick trip. I want to go back and do like a canoe through the river and try to like find some snakes along the river, up in the trees and whatnot. Maybe some night shining and things like that. And then big one for me in the north, which it's too cold right now to find, but when it warms up, I want to get to the north and I want to find the 100-flower rat snake.
Yeah, those are.
Oh my god!
That's probably my biggest target. That and Pataeus, probably my biggest target in Vietnam is those. I love, like I said before, big rat snake fan. So I love a really cool, especially a big, beautiful rat snake. And those the 100 flowers live in caves a lot of times, hunting bats and whatnot. So a big one of those would be awesome. So I think for Vietnam, those are some of my big ones.
Those 100 flowers, man, would be incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What about a Vietnamese blue beauty? You gonna try and target one of those?
Yeah, I would love that, especially hunting in the caves to get a big blue beauty. Yeah, Vietnam's probably the place for cool rat snakes for sure.
Yeah.
Big and blue beauties. I mean, I've seen like pictures of captive specimens that are massive. They can get pretty big too.
Yeah,
So.
our buddy, our other co-host of the show, Sky, he wasn't able to join us tonight, but he either has or had, I can't remember if he got rid of it, but he's got about, I think that thing's pushing like 8 foot. It's a blue beauty. I mean, the thing is a monster, man. They
awesome.
are such impressive snakes, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, the color, the size, the personality, feisty.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Awesome. Well, Gabe, do we have any wrap up questions, or did we hit everything?
Oh, I just have one for you.
Okay.
That I also thoroughly love crocodiles. Have you got to experience any really cool crocodile encounters while you're over there?
Sadly not. The only time I saw crocs, I actually did see a few in the Mekong, but it was I wasn't aware of it before arriving there that they even had crocs. But it's very common in Asia that you'll come across like croc farms and things like that. And I think it was some sort of croc farm. They had a lot of them in an enclosure there, but nobody at this area spoke English. I had no service on my phone, so I couldn't even ask questions about it. But I did see a croc farm there with a lot of crocs. No wild crocs yet, unfortunately. While I was in Indonesia, August from Bali Reptile Rescue went on a call to Lombok Island to remove a big saltwater croc because it was hunting there was another one that was hunting people that they had to remove, and then that one is big enough to where they were worried about it, and it was hanging out in areas where the fishermen go, so he went over there to help them remove it. I don't know what ended up happening with that situation, but it's I really want to get a salty. I want to see a big and little salty would be awesome. And then also I want to, hopefully at some point, if I can make it happen, if I can afford to go, I really want to go to Australia while I'm in this part of the world. Everybody wants to go to Australia, see all this. Yeah. But there's a lot of cool crocodilians here to see. So that's the plan soon. Saw some giant Varanus, giant Asian water monitors in Thailand.
Nice.
Oh, dude, I was just watching some of the videos that you put up of those, man. That was nuts. The fact that you were just in like a park and just finding these gigantic monitors just hanging out.
Huge. Easily over 6 feet, like monsters. Like when I got there, I was considering catching one, and then I was like, oh, these are really big. These are like gigantic. And also, if hypothetically, if I was to get bit or scratched by one, they're living in some ponds and rivers that are like pretty dirty, and I'm like, I would absolutely, like, no hesitation, have to go to the hospital. And I just don't know if I want to deal with that right now. And they'll obviously slice you to the bone. One that size is no joke if it gets pulled to you.
Cutting an artery aside, the sheer bacteria in their mouths is enough to cause serious damage.
Yeah, and that park where I saw them, in the middle, I mean, the city center of Bangkok, like they're just everywhere. They're running around everywhere. You see tons of people running through the park, not even paying attention, and there's just a giant monitor lizard sitting alongside the trail, like the size of a small alligator.
How many feral cats do you think those things take down a week?
Oh my God! Hopefully
a lot. Yeah.
But I still see a lot of freaking cats there, unfortunately. And I found a snake in that park. I was shocked because of how many cats and monitor lizards there were. But I saw my lifer Jody's pipe snake in the city. Oh, nice. I didn't see another Jody's pipe snake the entire trip in Thailand, but I saw one in the middle of Bangkok.
That's wild,
crazy, man. So it is funny though, because like I think about that and I'm like, wow, that's so nuts. But literally yesterday I was driving through this private subdivision, and there was probably 20, 6 to 8 foot alligators just all over the banks of all the golf course ponds. And I'm like, I guess it's really not that different. Like, it's very different for us, but for them, it's kind of like alligators for us. I see an alligator and I don't bat an eye anymore because that's just what I'm used to.
Right. Growing up in South Florida, green iguanas everywhere. Green iguana. Where are you located, by the way, Jake?
I'm in the low country of South Carolina.
He's like 2 hours away from me.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So Gabe, you're still in South Carolina as well.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm about 2 hours south from Gabe.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I'm basically in Georgia. I'm as far south in the state as you get, pretty much.
Okay. I'm sure that's some great herping though.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely have. I got some decent spots. It's fun. We can get a lot of variety around here. Not always in the same spot. You got to move, a little bit here and there. But we got some good diversity around here.
I gotta get back there. When I get back to the States, I gotta do a little road trip up to the Carolinas.
Man, come on, hit us up.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah,
appreciate it. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Well, at this point, man, we're starting now at the end of each show. We have write-ins that people come in, write to us with stories, their herping adventures.
Okay.
So we're gonna jump into that. If you would like to stay for that, you're more than welcome. But it sounds like things are starting to wake up over there, and I know you're a busy man. So if you gotta go, you're more than welcome. So whatever you'd like to do.
No worries. Let me see. I'll probably step out in a couple minutes.
Yeah, no worries, man.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. We certainly appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys inviting me on here. It's been a pleasure for sure.
Yeah,
Andrew, I'm serious. Come to the Carolinas. We'll go Harper, man. Plan in April. We'll put you on.
Yeah, that'd be great. I still gotta get I feel ashamed to admit I still have not seen an Eastern Diamondback in the wild. So
don't be ashamed. Don't be ashamed. I haven't either.
I'm still looking for a Decay's brown snake.
Of all things,
I've found everything else, but that species is
So there's always that one species for every herper that just seems to avoid them at all costs. So.
Those and southern hognoses just.
I gotta get one of those too.
At least the southern hog and the eastern diamondbacks, those make sense. Those are hard snakes to find.
I found my life.
The Decay's fucking brown snake is not a hard snake to find.
I've literally got the eastern diamondback, one of the harder ones, and I have not found a Decay's brown snake.
That's funny.
Yep.
I wonder why that is. I need to get a smooth earth snake too. Similarly,
I too need one of those. Yeah. Okay, Jake. Jake sends me a picture of this earth snake. He's like, I found this one back when I was in college, which is an hour north of me. And he's like, I couldn't get a good picture, but I think it was a rough earth snake. And he sends it to me, and I'm like, well, that's a smooth earth snake. And he's like, sweet. So you haven't found this yet, right? I'm like, no. He's like,
I'm like, fucking loser.
Oh man.
Yeah, it was funny. When I found that, I was actually in Pawleys Island, and I was in college, so I was just doing off and on jobs that I could, and I was basically landscaping this guy's yard. I was pulling out these big ass azalea bushes, just ripping them out of the ground, and all of a sudden this little snake's in there, and I just grabbed it up, and I was like, it's some type of earth snake. I don't know which one, but
some of the best finds are when people are not even on your mind, not even thinking about it. And that's really cool. I see some of the craziest wild morphs, albino, leucistic, crazy stuff pop up on random Facebook groups, and they're like, yeah, I found this in my buddy's yard. And I had no idea what it was. It's weird color.
The moonshine rat snakes started on a golf course. It's nuts, man.
That's insane.
But we'll jump into some write-ins. Andrew, feel free to hang out, dip out whenever you need to. Just let us know.
Okay. Sounds good. Appreciate it.
But tonight, our first one is going to be from Mr. Nate Truax. He's a frequent flyer in our ride-ins, and we got a little bit of a longer one here today. A lot of pictures. And these are from his time in Costa Rica. So he says, on my second day in Costa Rica, I spent the day poking around the property of the Arenal Lodge where I was staying. The lodge has a great view of the Arenal volcano, and that is what that is. He's got a little video of the area. He goes on to say, while hiking around, I saw several amoebas running around, but couldn't get a picture of them. But I did see some interesting plants, including a wild ginger and dramatic mimosa.
We can't call Jake that anymore.
Yeah, and that's funny. He actually made a joke about that. He goes, for those of you wondering which is which, the wild ginger is the one with the same skin tone as Jake. Just kidding. Love you, bud. So yeah, nice little dig at my pale skin. Thank you.
Oh, look, it's what's that? The sensitive fern or
that is, I'm guessing that would be dramatic mimosa.
oh yeah, I didn't even pay attention to the flower. That is a mimosa, isn't it?
This seems very dramatic to me.
Yeah.
That's awfully dramatic.
We there's a fern species that grows around here called a sensitive fern, and it kind of does the same thing. Yep.
Nice. Then he goes on to say, that night we hiked around the El Selenico Private Preserve. At first, we only saw species that we had seen the previous night, including the mottled snail eater, northern cat-eyed snake, and red-eyed tree frog making eggs. So those are some pictures from that. Quick video. This is the mottled snail eater, I believe. Wonderful little snake. They're so beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And then the classic red-eyed tree frog. What a beaut. Or what buttes, I should say. And those are the eggs from that. And then we saw several new species of frog, including a species of rain frog. I would look up the names for you guys right now, but I'm pretty tired. Anyways, I think y'all would think the patterning on this small toad was pretty cool. So that's the river frog. That is a beautiful toad.
Oh, wow. That is gorgeous.
Yeah, that is beautiful. You can see it, tell how well it fits in with like the color of the dirt and the leaf litter there, man. I mean, that's incredible. That almost looks like a cricket frog.
I was about to say that looks like Icarus.
I saw a lot of these in Costa Rica.
That's
Those
awesome.
things are really cool.
Those are beautiful. And however, the night really started kicking off after we found of all things a dead baby howler monkey lodged in a tree branch. That is odd. Based on
times that's usually like jaguar or like some sort of cat that'll kind of stuff them.
Says based on how little decomposition there was, we speculated that it couldn't have died more than a day or two ago. Then he says, then we found a Brazilian wandering spider on a fence pole. It was missing a few legs. Beautiful. But since I didn't want to expire via extreme erection, I left it alone. I can use fancy words too, Phil. Then we found a large tarantula in a crevice of a very large tree, but since I am not an arachnid, I'll leave it to Smitty to ID. Andrew, or Gabe, you both know spiders. Do you guys have any idea what this is?
It looks to be a tarantula.
It's probably either a pink toe, carabena, or a Somapoius. This is Costa Rica, right?
Yes.
I want to say it's a species of pink toe.
I would say pink toe, but without seeing a more of the body and all.
Yeah.
Well,
I can tell you 100% that is a fuck no. So that's what I think of that.
We're gonna get you over that eventually.
No, I'm just playing. He says, but on that very same tree, we also found several northern turnip tail geckos, which are some incredible looking geckos.
Look at that gold.
Yeah.
That's
I love the eyes, man. That's incredible. Short video here. Beautiful. And that is the lovely Nate Truex wearing his gecko shirt. Nice, nice, nice. He says, and then on barbed wire right next to the tree was the sleepy anole. Our guide Miguel called it a ghost anole. And since there's like 40 species of anole in Costa Rica, I'll just roll with ghost anole. It seems like a fitting name. But then we turned off the road and onto the actual jungle trail. And the first thing we saw while hiking in the trail was another tarantula. And then a whip scorpion hunting a wolf spider.
Oh, nice.
That's another fuck no.
There's so many whip scorpions there. It's crazy.
I love them. They're
Everywhere.
That thing's crazy looking, man. And I assume that's Nate or the guide hiking up. Very cool. And that's when we found the Costa Rican earth snake, which I believe he had some pictures of this last week.
Yeah. Look at the iridescence on it.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, our earth snakes here have some iridescence, but I mean, with the red on that, and it's just that's beautiful. That's
yeah. Then we continue walking for 5 minutes, and the last guy in the group spotted a coral snake. The rest of us passed up. That's an incredible animal. Costa Rican coral snake.
gorgeous.
And then to finish the hike, we saw a few marine toads just chilling at various points along the trail, including one in his own little cubby hole. That's a cute little guy, isn't it?
Oh,
Big old warts. I love toads, man.
they're great.
Big fan of toads.
You need some toads in your life.
I do. He said we also came across a red coffee snake.
Huh. I didn't even know that was a thing. Look at that.
I don't. Maybe that's not. Oh wait, no. This is one of the cloudy snail
That
eaters.
is slug. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was going to say, it looks a lot like the ones that I've been seeing in age.
Yeah,
in the head.
He said then we went road cruising and saw several cloudy snail eaters, including this cute baby.
Oh,
The little blunt noses on those things are awesome, man.
the big old eyes on it. It's just cute.
And then this is the red coffee snake, which these to me these look like a pine woods and a kind of like a pine woods and a ringneck had a baby.
Yeah, yeah, I could see that.
That's beautiful, man. Very, very earth snake-esque head. Like that's
Looks like some strange fossorial species you'd see in Australia or something.
Yeah, for sure. Beautiful. Then to close out the night, we took a brief walk to where someone had seen a fertilance resting the other day. Along the way, we spotted a metamorphosing leopard frog. That's cool. I always love seeing frogs in this stage of life. Like they're a frog, but not quite. And then to close out the night, a 4 to 5 foot long fertilance.
Oh, look at that.
But unfortunately, this one seems to have some sort of infection or tumor on its face, which is pretty severe from the looks of it.
Ooh,
That's rough.
it's looking a little skinny too.
Andrew, have you ever came across a fertilance in any of your travels?
Yes, that was the one that I almost stepped on. Sorry,
that's right. Yeah.
headphones just gave out. We got 2 giant ones in Costa Rica, and both of them planted right near creeks, but they can get really big. And
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you guys know, but they are not. That is not a snake to play around with. I mean, they make all kinds of weird, crazy acrobatic moves, and it's crazy. Nuts.
Jeez, man. Well, that is the end of his pictures. He says, but sickly snakes and dead baby monkeys aside, it was a pretty awesome night. And it certainly sounds like it. Thank you very much, Nate. We're glad to thank you for sharing all your some of your pictures and stuff that you've found at your recent trip to Costa Rica. That is incredible. Next, we have a quick one from Mr. Ben Bailey. We don't have many write-ins tonight. We just have 3, but luckily Nate stuck up took up a good chunk of time. So that was great. Mr. Ben Bailey, his Rural Reptiles 2. Hey guys, glad to see the pod back for 2025. Been a good while since I wrote in. I didn't get as much herping in the last year as I'd hoped. And this year will just be local stuff again, but hoping to do more and map out some local areas a bit more. First toad found on the farm this week, although I disturbed him while hibernating. Should have amphibians starting to move and breed here in the coming weeks, but here's a couple phone pics of that toad for now. It's a beautiful toad. Very, very red eyes.
He's got that almost like a bronze toned eye. Like
Yeah.
that. Like it looks like if you remember the old copperhead BBs for the BB guns back in the day.
Yeah.
Like you put like a copperhead BB right there. That's just gorgeous.
That's awesome.
Beautiful toad.
All right, I'm gonna head out. My headphones died, but I'll catch you guys later. Thank you so much.
Man.
Yeah, no worries, man. Thank you for coming on. We certainly appreciate it, brother. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. All right, great to meet you, Jake.
Hey, great hunting, man. All right, later, man.
See ya.
All right. Moving on, we have another Ben, back-to-back Bens. Mr. Ben of Wild World of Deming on Instagram. This is another fuck no from Jake. He says, what up?
A little wary too. I don't blame you.
Yeah. He says, what up, thick-thighed herping guys? I got 2 more picks for you today. One is Jake's favorite animal, and both have to do with tents. The first one is from Thailand. Again, I was up in the mountains camping, and I had a 6-inch Thailand centipede trying to come in and cuddle me. I used one of my stiff socks from the night before to catch and release it back into the wild. The second one is from Germany, where we held over for a month there in the spring during COVID, and I got to see a baby Western green lizard. Centipedes, man. Nope. There's that little Western green lizard. Let me get a little zoom in on this guy. Look at that guy.
Look at him.
What a little beaut. Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, Ben. Again, Ben of the Wild World Deming. Definitely check him out. This was great. Thank you all for the write-ins. We certainly appreciate it. Obviously, please keep them coming. We will be deciding somebody either, we're either going to do it bi-yearly or yearly or something. We're going to be doing some type of giveaway for people that send in stories that we like. Usually somebody that keeps them coming regularly. So we'll send you a shirt or a hat. Who knows? Maybe we'll do it quarterly, bi-yearly, yearly. We haven't decided yet, but we're gonna keep doing it. Devin just got his hat he was our choice from last year because he just kept it coming. Unfortunately, he is underneath very much snow right now. So he did send us in some pictures of his new hat, which we will be posting on the Instagram. But yes, thank y'all very much for writing in. Please keep them coming. Hopefully we see more and more as herping season gets kicked off, which kicks off for me tomorrow. Very excited. Again, going to see the man, not a myth, Mr. Jack Oliver. Jack Oliver Reptiles. He's coming down, or he's already down, and we're gonna go. Or he's gonna go to Gabe's. I'm gonna go to Gabe's. Smitty's coming with. Smitty's got to bring water, pants, and snacks this time, so he doesn't die.
Listen, we are not lugging Smitty out of those woods. I'm
gonna leave him in the forest.
No. Listen, no, we're not lugging him out. He better,
No.
Smitty, bring water, bring food, and Advil, whatever other medication you need.
And for the love of God, pants. Jesus, how many times I gotta tell that fool wear pants? Yeah, this was a great episode. Unfortunately, Andrew had to go ahead and dip, so couldn't really get a good goodbye in. But that was a wonderful episode. Andrew, if you go back and listen to this, thank you very much for tuning on. This was awesome. Very excited to get this one out there. Hopefully reaches a lot of people. He's a very nice guy, full of knowledge. So As y'all noticed, Sky was not able to join us tonight. Like if you listen to the last episode, he's got a lot of life stuff going on. So it was just me and Gabe tonight, unfortunately. So big shout out to Sky, of course. He'll always be a part of the show. But it's more so going to be whenever he can nowadays. And that is okay. Me and Gabe will hold down the fort in the meantime. But yeah, this has been episode 23 of Flippin' 10. Hopefully we got lots of good stories for you next time. It looks like we've already got our next guest lined up, which is going to be another heater that we are very, very excited about. And no, we're not going to be hiding guests anymore. We decided to not do that. We want to give people a heads up in case they want to tune in live. And depending on the guest, maybe they want to make, usually can't come on live, but because of the guest, maybe they'll make an exception. So we're going to start announcing them once they're officially, like on the schedule, so people know to stay tuned for upcoming episodes. Little changes to do as in this coming year. Gabe, any closing remarks?
No, none here. Just excited about tomorrow. We should have a good day.
Yeah.
Good weather.
Yeah, it'll be a good one. I'm hoping. Yeah, I got high hopes.
I think it's going to be pretty good.
Yeah. Well, with that, I got to wake up early. So we're going to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for listening, whether you're tuning in tonight or on your way to work in the morning or whenever you listen to podcasts. Thank you very much for listening, and we will be back in 2 weeks. We are getting back on our regular scheduled program. So, yeah, we'll see y'all in 2 weeks. Thank you, everybody.